Sylvia Plath was an American poet, novelist, and short story writer. She is remembered as one of the most powerful voices of the 20th century. Her poetry is deeply emotional, personal, and often painful. She is known as a confessional poet. This means she wrote openly about her own life, her struggles, and her emotions. To understand her poetry, we must first understand her life. Her biography is full of both talent and tragedy. This video covers a complete biography of Sylvia Plath. Early life. Sylvia Plath was born on October 27, 1932 in Boston, Massachusetts, in the United States of America. Her father's name was Otto Plath. He was a professor of biology at Boston University. He was especially interested in studying bees. Her mother's name was Aurelia Schober Plath. She was a teacher of English and German. When Sylvia was very young, her family moved to Winthrop, a small town near the ocean. She grew up close to the sea, which later appeared in her poetry. Sylvia was a very intelligent and creative child. She began writing poetry at an early age. She published her first poem when she was only 8 years old. Her father, Otto Plath, died in 1940 when Sylvia was 8. He died of complications from diabetes. This was a very painful event in her life. She felt both love and anger toward her father. His death left a permanent mark on her personality and her poetry. In her famous poem Daddy, she expressed this complex relationship. Education and early writing. Sylvia was an excellent student. She always received very high grades. She was also very good at drawing and painting. She published her poems and stories in magazines while she was still in school. She won many prizes for her writing. In 1950, Sylvia entered Smith College, a very famous women's college in Massachusetts. At Smith, she was known as a brilliant student. She continued to publish poems and stories. She dreamed of becoming a great writer. In 1953, Sylvia won a summer internship at Mademoiselle magazine in New York City. This was a big achievement. She worked as a guest editor. However, during that summer, Sylvia suffered a severe mental breakdown. She felt depressed and hopeless. She made her first attempt to end her life by taking sleeping pills. She was hospitalized and received treatment. After her recovery, she returned to Smith College. She completed her degree with high honors in 1955. She was awarded a Fulbright scholarship. This scholarship allowed her to study at the University of Cambridge in England. Life in England and marriage. At Cambridge, Sylvia studied English literature. She continued to write poetry. In 1956, she met the English poet Ted Hughes. Ted Hughes was a talented writer, and they quickly developed a close relationship. They married in June 1956. Sylvia and Ted had a passionate but troubled marriage. Their relationship was full of difficulties. Ted was unfaithful, and Sylvia felt betrayed. Sylvia and Ted had 2 children, Frida, born in 1960, and Nicholas, born in 1962. Sylvia loved her children, but she also struggled with the responsibilities of motherhood. Career and works. Sylvia Plath published her first collection of poems, The Colossus and Other Poems, in 1960. This book was published in England. The poems in The Colossus show her careful and controlled style. They use myth, history, and symbols. Her only novel, The Bell Jar, was published in 1963 under the name Victoria Lucas. This novel is semi-autobiographical. Semi-autobiographical means that it is partly based on her own life. The novel tells the story of Esther Greenwood, a young woman who wins a scholarship in New York City. Esther suffers from depression, feels pressure from society, and struggles with identity. The book closely reflects Sylvia's own experiences at Mademoiselle magazine and her mental breakdown. Sylvia's most famous poems were written in the last months of her life, in 1962 and 1963. These poems were later collected in the book Ariel. The poems in Ariel are very powerful, emotional, and personal. They are examples of confessional poetry. They show her struggles with depression, her feelings about marriage, her role as a mother, and her thoughts about death. Some of her most famous poems include Lady Lazarus, Daddy, Ariel, and Tulips. These poems are studied worldwide. They show her unique style of vivid imagery, strong metaphors, and raw emotion. Mental health and struggles. Sylvia Plath struggled with mental illness throughout her life. She suffered from depression. She also faced pressure from society to be a perfect wife and mother, while also trying to succeed as a poet. Her marriage with Ted Hughes became more difficult. Ted began a relationship with another woman. Sylvia felt deeply hurt and betrayed. In 1962, they separated. Sylvia moved with her 2 children to a flat in London. In the winter of 1962 to 1963, Sylvia was very depressed. She was living in a cold house, with little money, and had to care for her children alone. But at the same time, she wrote some of her best poems. These included Ariel, Daddy, and Lady Lazarus. These poems are full of energy, anger, despair, and brilliance. Death. On February 11, 1963, Sylvia Plath took her own life. She was only 30 years old. Her death shocked the literary world. She left behind her 2 children and her unpublished poems. After her death, Ted Hughes edited and published many of her works. In 1965, he published Ariel, which made Sylvia Plath world famous. In 1981, her collected poems was published. This book won the Pulitzer Prize, one of the highest awards in literature. Conclusion. Sylvia Plath's life was both inspiring and tragic. She was a brilliant student, a gifted writer, and a loving mother. She also suffered from depression, betrayal, and despair. Her early death was a great loss. But her words remain alive. Her poetry and her novel continue to inspire, move, and challenge readers. To understand Sylvia Plath's poems, we must always remember her biography. Her experiences shaped her art. Her pain became her poetry. And her voice remains one of the strongest in modern literature. Thank you for watching this video on Sylvia Plath Biography.